Welcome to part two, where we actually take the total energy expenditure. We now make a calorie intake recommendation based on the goal that we've discussed with them. In this instance, the individual wants to go into a calorie deficit. Now, because they're at about 2,000 calories a day, we've got some wiggle room here to get down. We don't want to go below 1,200. I'd say that's like minimum. That's not even a very comfortable amount of calories, but it depends on the individual. Give them a ballpark here. As you can see, I said between 500 to 750 a day of a calorie deficit. That's going to be 1 to 1.5 pounds a week on average of fat mass lost if they're able to consistently hit it. And that gives them a pretty good ballpark to operate within. So this takes this individual to 1,200 to 1,450 a day. Goal calories, we'll bring it right into the middle at about 1,350 would be like their target. And let's now break it up into their macros. And this is where the real education comes in that's going to hopefully change their life and the way that they start to view their paradigm of nutrition and food moving forward, not just with their time at Bunda, but hopefully for the rest of their life and their family and their friends. Average diet, 30, 40, 30. That's their PCFs. You're going to say like, hey, do you know what the PCFs are? And you write it out like this, PCFs, the proteins, carbs, and fats. Those are the three macronutrients that all of your calories are going to fall under, some combination of either proteins, carbs, and fats, right? The average diet, about 30% protein, 40 carb, 30 fat. You could skew this up and down a little bit. You could go keto, low carb, high fat protein. You could go high carb protein, low fat. You could go like super balanced, but general recommendation is protein is going to be somewhere between 25 to 35%. And then carbs and fats are going to fluctuate based on each other for the rest of their total calorie intake, depending on their preferences. Do they want to eat 1 meal a day, 6 meals a day? Again, this is preference. Whatever diet they're going to adhere to best that makes sense with these numbers is what's going to help them get the best results. Then we're going to teach them the 449. I put it off here in the corner. The PCF 449, 4 calories to 1 gram of protein, 4 calories, 1 gram of carb, 9 calories, 1 gram of fat, because fats are much more energy dense. And that plays an important role here. And then we're going to apply that 449. Okay, so about 30% of 1,350. It's actually 405. I double checked this math. I was just ballparking it. I put 420, it's 405. Okay, but let's say it's 420. Divide by 4 is 105. 510 calories, which is 40% of 1,350. It's not, it's actually 540. Again, bad math, but it's a ballpark. 127.5 grams of carb, and then 42 divided by 9. Again, look, I'm not a mathematician. 45 grams of fat. I round up and down a little bit. It's not an exact science. I don't expect them to hit these numbers perfectly. We're giving a frame of reference here. Frame of reference for them to operate off of. In theory, if they were to hit 105-ish grams of carb a day, of protein, about 127.5 grams of carb, about 45 grams of fat, a little low, but like it's okay. They could balance it out here and there. Ideally, that 1,350, this will help them see that 1 to 1.5 pounds of fat loss a week. If they err on a little bit more calories than this, they still got plenty of wiggle room. It's going to take a while for them to adjust to this. They might need to download a MyFitnessPal type tool for a day or two and like try and manage their calories. At the very least, if we can have them manage their protein for a start, that's going to solve most of their problems. So here's where they're going to be like, oh, this is a lot of numbers. And then you bring them in, at least this is what I do. I bring them into my cheat sheet, my trainer. Here's my me to you recommendations, things that I've recommended to people numerous times over the years that I think really help streamline. And this is an example of a way of eating that will make sense to get here. I always started off with a raw protein shake. I grab one out the fridge, say, here's your food item, a shake. It's got 30 grams of protein, and I show them the macros on it. Say 30. What's 30 times 4? That's our magic number, 120. Great. And it's 160 total calories. That's 75%. And I'll literally go like, oh, say this was my shake. Oh, it's 75% protein, 25% carb and fat. That's really good. That's very high protein. That's going to offset other meals throughout the day. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Grab a shake after every workout. Boom, 450. We charge for those shakes. And if they make one at home, great. As long as the life habit of like having a shake after a workout, 12 ounces of liquid. It's got as much protein as practically a chicken breast for a fraction of the calories of a normal meal. Excellent supplementation in their diet. If they're sensitive to whey, find a version of a shake that they like, but whey is generally going to be the leanest, cleanest that they're going to get access to. This is all just a recommendation, not a rule anyways. Now, then I put snack A, 20 grams of protein, 140 calories. I often recommend Quest chips. I eat them every day. Again, this is a personal recommendation. They have plenty of flavors. I get them off Amazon. They're relatively cheap. You could recommend whatever, turkey jerky, beef jerky. It could be cottage cheese. Here's snack B. For me, this is a Greek yogurt. That's 15 grams of protein, 120 calories. So far, I've helped them solve for about 65 grams of protein out of 105, and it only cost them 420 total calories out of 1350. Very strong protein to calorie ratio so far. And then I put meal A, where they now only, they need about 40-gram protein meal. It's like a normal, strong serving of protein in a meal, and that meal could be 900 calories. Okay, 40 times 4 is 160, 160 out of 900. This is now like a 12% protein meal and that's where I said it offsets with that shake and everything later. This is just one style of eating. They could have 2 meals a day and then just one shake and no snack. It's whatever's going to work for them. You give your personal recommendation. Ask them what's realistic. I find that a lot of people only eat one solid meal a day at home. And so this might connect to them a little bit more. If someone needs a lot more protein, you might have, divvy it up based on your knowledge as a trainer as to like, hey, how are we going to help you get towards your total protein and stay with your total calories and have a nice, generous meal throughout the day, or like 2 moderate meals and a shake, or like whatever's going to work for you. What are you going to adhere to for long enough to see results that gives you good nutrition on a high protein diet so that you can build or at least maintain muscle tissue on your deficit and start to see some really good results and stick to it for not just a few weeks, but months, because we know it's going to take them, most people, months to see a pretty serious change in their physique and proportions and their level of health. So that's what we have to give them, this education, work it through with them, give them your recommendations as a trainer of things that you love and, help them have that aha moment. But they should know the 4-4-9 rule. They should have a good idea of their total caloric energy intake and their total protein intake. I don't expect them to track carbs and fats. I much prefer if they're just paying attention to protein for the first couple weeks. We'll see how that goes. And if the scale isn't moving in the right direction on the InBody, then we might be like, hey, we need to pay more total attention to your caloric intake and protein intake. You might still be maybe over consuming and getting to your protein goal, but now we need to dial it in more. Okay, from here, you've armed them with enough knowledge that they can start to take it into their own hands and ask better questions of you in the future. Now, when they come back to you in a couple days at a session, you're like, hey, how's your protein? They're like, oh my God, I hit 100 grams. It's way harder than I thought. My fats are through the roof. You've started to change this person's frame of how they see nutrition. Then you're going to see them in 3 to 4 weeks and they're going to InBody again. They're going to see results or not. And if they're not seeing results, hey, let's pay a little bit more attention to this. Let's maybe actually track for a day or two, get one of those apps. Do it 1 or 2 days. I'll help you go through it because I'm pretty sure it's what's going on. If they're seeing fantastic results, you give them a high five, say, keep fucking going. Let's crush this thing. And then when they start plateauing, you have to revisit and adjust as needed. Cool. I hope you guys find this helpful. Let's get this to be a consistent and streamlined process so we're all kind of on the same page in how we go through this. Ask me if you have any questions in person in studio. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Coach Mike out.